Is love truly blind? Well, probably not really when everyone on the show is hot anyway, but we're going to talk about it anyway on episode 75 of the podcast. Cue the music. Welcome, everyone, to the Entertainment Buffet podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Prosek.
And I'm obviously Jessica Kwazz.
Obviously.
Obviously.
Of course. Well, Jess, it's been a couple weeks now since I've returned from Chicago. Was able to come out there to Denver to visit you before all this madness and chaos that's happening out there.
Yeah, it's crazy because you were here only like a week or so ago, and it feels like a lifetime ago, actually. Like, someone, like, when you were
Since
here.
you've been gone.
It's so odd because you were here not all that long ago, but so much has happened since in our lives.
Yeah.
So here we are. You and I are both practicing self-isolation in our respective homes, which is great. Everyone should be doing that, please.
Yeah, and while I was there on my trip, I thought I'd watch some episodes of it, but I ended up watching the entire season of Love is Blind.
You know, it gets ya. It has that effect because I think it was really similar for when I watched it the first time. I watched all the available episodes in like the matter of like a day or two, and then when they came up again, because I came a little like few weeks into it when they had just released I think like 6 episodes, and then there was like 7, 8, 9, and then the reunion I believe or something like that. I came in. And all the available episodes I could watch, I blew through them. And then the day the new ones dropped, I was in it. Like, I don't know, it's really interesting the effect that show has had on people, but there's just something about it where it is puts you in a trance. You are in it. You are watching it. That's your life now.
Yeah. Yeah, I had no idea when I was out there visiting you. Obviously, things had been starting. You know, we kind of mentioned it the last episode that we recorded that things were happening with COVID and everything, and but now it's like the day I got back. Like people even sent me a picture of like the O'Hare airport. They're like, "Were you in this madness?" And I'm like, "No, that's like international travels. Like I was generally fine, but like." Yeah, there's places that have travel bans, and I'll just say, kind of as a timestamp, at the current moment, we recently had a lockdown of Chicago. Obviously, police aren't just like roaming the streets trying to find people to go inside, but streets are pretty bare. I'm fortunate enough to be working at home. We just officially were told until at least minimum middle of April, probably be longer, but that's the current stance. So yeah, like Jess said, self-isolation, and when I was out there in Denver watching some Love is Blind, I had no idea that this is what I would come home to.
Yeah, you watched people in pods, and now you're like in your own pod. Who knew?
Right? Yeah, little did I know that I was in my own pod that I'm not sure I love. Yeah, this is a current timestamp of how things are. It'll be interesting to reflect on this when we're in episode 75 now. When we get to like 100, where will we be? And so yeah, I just wanted to say, I hope everyone, like we're saying, is being safe. Isolating if you can. For those who are out working at stores and public and food and things like that, where they have to deal with people, thank you for doing that. And also, everyone, please be nice. be nice to those who are having to go out there and risk getting infected.
Yes, be nice to each other. Take care of each other. Be nice to the elderly, especially. Like, this is really rough on everyone. And look, like, we're just a podcast about entertainment. We are not gonna solve this for anybody, but we just want to let you know we're going through a hard time as well. So are our loved ones. And I just hope that maybe our episodes can just kind of be like a break from all the madness and just like a nice, like, soothing presence in your life for a little
Yeah.
bit. Like, at least that's what podcasts have been for me lately.
Yeah, exactly. And like she said, we're just one podcast, but it is funny, in a way, how many podcasts the last week or two have started. And I'm like, we've been doing this for years. Like, how many people are like, oh, I could do that podcast I've been thinking about doing. And I'm like, or you guys could go listen to some that have been doing it already.
Right.
But yeah, it's a crazy time. This obviously has been affecting because movie theaters are closed.
Yeah.
What was the last movie you saw in theaters at the moment?
I actually saw The Hunt, which had been
Oh,
released just a couple weeks before movie theaters started closing. I actually went to an Alamo Draft House the last day you could go to a theater.
wow.
We practiced some very good social distancing, though. We didn't sit next to anyone. It was my boyfriend and I, and we kept a distance. I brought Purell. I was constantly Purelling my hands. So we were still safe. But yeah, I saw The Hunt. I really enjoyed it. If you haven't heard about this movie, it actually had a lot of controversy a few months ago, back, I think in September, when it was originally supposed to come out. Basically, the premise is people hunting each other for sport because of their political ideologies. And it's kind of like this weird, violent, but really funny, really kooky, really weird kind of romp. It's very campy. I truly enjoyed it. I thought it was very funny. And now I believe it's one of the movies that is on VOD, so if you do want to watch it, you can watch it at your home right now, which is really neat. And The Invisible Man is also one that you can watch VOD, and I saw that a few weeks ago, and I really enjoyed it. So if you are looking for new movies that were in theaters you didn't get to see, you can watch them from home right now. But yeah, I really enjoyed The Hunt, even though it was kind of quite an interesting time to watch a political satire like that.
Yeah, I had no idea how much of a satire that was. I heard it was controversial because like I think it was originally supposed to be called Red versus Blue, and
Maybe.
like
Well, it was controversial because when it came out, or when it was supposed to come out, the president tweeted about it, about how this was going to cause a rift in Americans and we shouldn't allow this movie to come out. So Universal actually yanked it and wasn't going to release it at all. And then I guess they just waited a few months until, I don't know, people forgot about it or still wanted to see it. And then they released it in March. So yeah, it has like this really interesting little history. The cast is also like super stacked. There's a lot of like just random cameos and like fun performances from people. Betty Galpin is pretty much the star. She's in Glow. I don't really watch Glow, but her performance in this is incredible. And yeah, it's just a weird, if you like kind of like campy, violent comedies, this is the one for you.
interesting. I will definitely have to take a look at that one. Um, yeah, I think the last film I saw in theaters, man, that I think it may have been when I went and saw Knives Out a second time. Like it's been a little bit. Um, I'm just double checking right now. Uh, yeah, the last like new movie, because one of the last movies I saw in theaters was our January Bruise and Bad movie show when we at the Music Box showed Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Um, wow, yeah, no. So actually, technically, in 2020, yeah, the only movie I've seen in theaters was Knives Out for the second time. Everything else I've been watching at home or elsewhere. So I hope uh, I can see something else soon. A lot of people have been making jokes that if no other movies are released, that movies like Birds of Prey or Sonic could be considered for Best Picture. Just
Yes.
because like there's such a limited pile of movies that have come out in 2020 that like some of the because January and February are typically the worst months for movies, and so the fact that those are the months we got before things closed for a bit, hopefully a bit. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, we've seen how many films have been delayed of release. Some already pushing to 2021. I mean, like Jess, was there a movie coming out soon that you're upset that you're not seeing?
Actually, not really, because like
I'm good.
in general, there
I
weren't.
saw The Hunt. I'm
I
good.
saw The Hunt. I'm fine. In general, like I didn't think this upcoming year was one that like excited me for movies coming out. Like it was just kind of like, eh. Um, I'm not really like a Bond fan, so I know that like that was devastating blow to some moviegoers. To me, I really didn't give a shit. Um, there weren't any movies that I was like, oh my god, I need to see this immediately. So I'm okay. It is interesting though how many big budget movies have just been like completely put on hold indefinitely. We'll see where that goes. I did think it was really interesting that the new movie The Lovebirds with Kumail Nanjiani and Issa Rae was supposed to premiere in theaters in April, but they have since canceled their theatrical plans and are going to be distributed on Netflix. So I think that
Oh.
that's interesting. Like maybe some more movies that were going to come out will just decide to go with like on demand at home, which I don't know, it wouldn't be the worst idea. Like they could still make some money, I feel like. We will see. I don't know what to expect with that.
Yeah. Some films that were supposed to come out, at least some of the bigger ones. Black Widow got pushed, which there's obviously Wonder Woman 1984, Candyman. Some of these are coming out towards the summer. Another SpongeBob movie. There's already been some movies that have been pushed, but I'm scrolling through and it's like, wow, there are so many movies coming out on Netflix and Amazon and Apple TV and other sources that'll be interesting. And I'm sure Disney Plus will be dropping some stuff. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this really affects um, the movie industry because like TV and on demand, like they're already, releasing stuff that they had filmed. I bet there's stuff that's been done, they're just waiting to release it. Maybe some stuff has been dropped sooner. So I think it's going to be interesting how it doesn't really affect them. It may affect like network or like live TV. If I mean, one thing that I'll kind of comment. I know Jess is not much of a wrestling fan, but a big event that this affected is WrestleMania. It's the Super Bowl of wrestling. It was supposed to be in about a week or two from when we're recording. WrestleMania 36, and usually though gets anywhere from 70 to 80,000 people, and so WWE was pretty much pressured to cancel, obviously for social distancing. It was going to take place in Tampa this year, and so what they decided to do was they've been doing their weekly shows in front of no audience, and
Interesting.
and apparently it's closed sets. It's like only people that have been tested that they're okay or whatever, and like minimal staff. And like it's weird because to watch wrestling's usually like you watch it, but then you're watching it in front of a live audience, so you hear them cheering, booing, reacting, and it's just silence. And it's very weird. Like the wrestlers are doing what they can, but it's just a totally different. It's like when you watch wrestling in real life live, you forget that there's no commentators like you do see on TV. But so WrestleMania, they decided to not only do it in front of a closed, like no person set, but they tried to do something that Japan does with their wrestling is they're doing two nights 2 shorter nights opposed to one giant like 4 or 5 hour extravaganza. They're like, oh, it's going to be Saturday and Sunday. And what's funny is they're trying to advertise it because Vince is an idiot. They're trying to advertise it as like one night, too big for one night to handle or something like that. It's just like, come on, man, stop trying to act like this isn't because
Right, like this was a
of
choice.
a national pandemic.
Right. This is what we wanted to do, you guys.
Yeah, you chose to not get 80,000 in ticket sales. That's what you chose. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Obviously, sports are canceled, so it is just affecting entertainment in many ways. And so it'll be very interesting to look back at this.
Yeah, and we'll see what's gonna happen. It seems like we don't really know. But anyway, let's.
But
that's
anyway,
scary.
anyway, what else have you been watching, Jess?
So I've had a lot of time on my hands. So I've been watching movies that haven't seen yet, but like I've meant to, and I finally am getting to them. I recently watched the animated movie Missing Link, which was nominated for Best Animated Picture this year. It was incredible. The animation is beautiful. It has a really sweet story to it. If you're an animation fan, definitely check it out. I haven't seen Toy Story 4 yet, which did end up winning Best Animation, so I'm not sure how they compare. But, I mean, Toy Story 4 has to be really incredible because this movie was gorgeous. Another kind of Oscar-adjacent movie I watched was Bong Joon-ho's The Host. This was quite an interesting movie to watch during a pandemic because it's essentially about a monster that affects society, fucks shit up, destroys the town, destroys the city. People are in a panic. But it was really fun and interesting, and it wasn't like your typical kind of like monster movie. This is one of his first movies. It's definitely like a bigger budget movie for him. I really enjoyed it, and I think it had like quite an interesting ending. And then I've been watching some older movies. Like I watched Hello, Dolly with Barbara Streisand, which was fun because it's like big, gorgeous set pieces and costumes. And I also watched an older movie with Judy Garland called The Ziegfeld Girls, which was like a big, epic kind of like musical movie from the 1930s. It was basically like their version of Marvel. You know, it was like the Spectator movies. So yeah, I've been watching those, and then Westworld just came back 2 weeks ago. I am still watching it. I've seen the first 2 episodes the Sundays they premiere, and yeah, man, that show is very cerebral and will mess with your mind.
Gotcha, yeah. I forgot that Westworld was back already. I knew it was coming soon, but yeah. I may have to get my HBO again soon. I took a break from a lot of streaming services. I was trying to focus on just like some DVDs and some Amazon stuff. But yeah, TV show wise, I've still been kind of making my way. I recently finished the first season of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It was a lot of fun. Interesting to see that dynamic of the stand-up from that time period. One show that I've been just telling everyone about is I've been rewatching Dexter's Laboratory.
Nice.
And I watched some video essays on it, and it's so fun to learn the history of this show. But the key thing is if you're going to find it somewhere to watch, only watch seasons 1 or 2. It's the original run, the original creative staff that was done with Hanna-Barbera Studios and Gennady Tartakovsky, who did Samurai Jack and other shows. The seasons 3 and 4 revival series, awful, terrible. It was made like 2 years later by a completely different team, and the lack of budget and creativity shows. But that show, the best way I can describe it is if you haven't watched it since you were a kid, it's like a children's Rick and Morty.
Okay, so yeah, I have not watched it since I was a kid, especially like the first and second season. So I'm interested as how I would view it now that I'm older.
Yeah, like one, they do adult jokes. One, there's total homages to like adult films. Not like adult films as in porn, but like films geared towards adults. Super well paced. It just they'll do 3 7-minute segments, and they don't waste a single second of those 7 minutes. But it's not rushed. It's just boom, boom, boom. The rule that they say in like comedy writing is every line should be pushing the story or setting up a joke, or a joke. That's what everything should be. That's what they do not only with their writing but also with the animation. Everything is just boom, boom, boom. The best way I could describe it, like I said, is I'll watch Rick and Morty and I'm like, how was that only 22 minutes? So much happened. But it's that for 7 minutes for Dexter. It's so well made. There's episodes I've showed other people my age that are adults, and it's not just like nostalgia fun. It's like, no, it's just quality. It's just good. So if you can find those first 2 seasons, check those out. Movies I've been watching. Woof. One movie we watched, I think we may have talked about it a little last episode. Jess, we watched Billboard Dad.
We did. Wow, I completely forgot we did that. We did watch Billboard Dad.
I didn't forget. Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen film. Mm-hmm. Woof. It's basically their mom's dead and their dad is sad, and so they put his picture up on a billboard so that hopefully women will ask him out. And it's just so stupid. And like, it's dark in some parts, some adult humor, too much going on, but also nothing going on. Yeah, it's woof.
It was time. It was quite a time.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of those Olsen twin movies are woof watches.
I would love to
good
see
old woof
more.
watch.
A good old woof watch. I would love to see more, but they have like completely locked down their movies, the ones that like they actually have ownership of. Billboard Dad is not one of them, so it was on Hulu. But all their other like travel movies they own, so they like do not put it out at all. I think
that's funny.
Yeah, so I would love to see how cringy they all are, but I can't right now. But yeah, it was funny because you and I both love bad movies, and somehow we got on the topic of Billboard Dad and like the Olsen twin movies, and we went in, we just did it. We loved it.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, is this may be a different episode, but like there's bad movies that are fun to watch, and then there's some that's like I said, the best way I could just go is like, Buzz, your girlfriend, woof. Like it's just oh boy. So yeah, it is it was a time. A movie that has been told to be bad, but it was actually not that bad in my eyes, that I saw was Blade Trinity. With a friend, I've been watching the original Blade movies for the first time. And like Blade Trinity is often on lists of one of the worst comic book adaptations. It's not that bad.
Really?
Like it's not good by any means. But like I was looking for like Green Lantern, Spider-Man 3, like Fantastic Four from 2015, like bad. And it's like, no, this is just fine.
Yeah, it's just okay.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's fine. Ryan Reynolds is in it, pretty much being Deadpool before he knew who Deadpool was. Wesley Snipes is phoning in his performance because apparently he hated it and was just high on set all the time, according to Patton Oswalt. And so, yeah, it's not that bad. Interesting, dark ideas. So, yeah, if you're interested in, like, giving one of those early 2000 movies like that was known for being bad another shot, I'd say the Blade movies would be one. Some other movies I watched, some good movies. Always got to cover the bad and cover the good. I saw Honey Boy.
Oh, how is it? I really want to see it.
Incredible.
Really?
It's so good. Like if I would have saw it when we did our top of 2019, I think it would have been on my top 10. That and Knives Out. I didn't see those by the end of when we did that list, but like Honey Boy, if you're not sure, it's on Amazon. If you want to check it out on Amazon, it's written by Shia LaBeouf. It's about when it juggles between two different stories when he was young, like working on Even Stevens, and it's about his toxic relationship with his alcoholic, abusive father. And Shia LaBeouf plays the dad.
That's incredible. Like that's just wow, 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 wow.
And yeah, but it's like him going through therapy and Scream, because it's like not only does he have to play this, like what can be seen as a very terrible person, but he like empathizes with it and tries to really give like this incredible performance that I just was shocked was not given more award praise, because he's really good in it. Both actors that play Shia at the other ages, the other age is when he was kind of in the mid 2000s, kind of getting into alcohol problems with around the Transformer movies and getting in car accidents and problems with the police. So it's between those two like different times in his life. So well made. The direction's really good. I want to note the director because I think she was a first time director.
Yeah, it was a female
Um,
director, which is so rad that he did that because it sounds like such an emotional movie that it's so interesting to have like a woman's take on emotions like that. I love that.
yeah, I'll probably say her name wrong, but Alma Harel. Um, she's an Israeli American director who it looks like this was her first film. She'd done music videos and stuff, but this was her first film. And so yeah, Shia LaBeouf wrote it, and he stars as the dad. I'll credit the two actors who play him at different ages. Lucas Hedges plays him when he's in his early 20s, and then Noah Jupe plays him when he's younger. And yeah, both those actors really great. So I can't say enough good things about this. I think it's just a film that I wish got more recognition. I think it got like some little nominations, but nothing that like I think it should have been considered for. I think easily that could have been nominated for like best director.
Right. That's what I was hearing a lot of when that was like an issue of like no female
Yeah.
directors. It was like it wasn't that there weren't any female directors. There were, and they made quality movies. They were just ignored. And that was one that was brought up. And yeah, I remember like when it was first coming out, it was kind of buzzy because it was like, oh, it's about Shia LaBeouf. It's kind of like his redemption movie, and like he wrote it. It's himself. It's his dad. But then, yeah, like people just kind of shut it out. I think it did get some nominations at the Independent Spirit Awards, which when we were talking about award seasons and in that episode, I had said ignore all the other awards except for the Independent Spirit Awards because those are like where it's more authentic. And I'm pretty sure it was nominated there.
Yeah. So if you have Amazon Prime, it's streaming on there for free. So go check it out. I'm not sure if it's one that they produced or if it just happens to be streaming there for free right now. So if you don't have Prime already, I'd say go check it out. Really great. Another film that was incredible for a totally different reason I saw for the first time, The Raid. Have you
Oh,
heard of this
yeah. Oh,
movie?
The Raid's great. Yeah. I haven't watched it in
Yeah.
years, though, but yeah, The Raid is epic.
So like if you like John Wick movies, The Raid is like another level. Raid is that same style, but it's an Indonesian film that woof. I was told it was good, and I believed everyone because they're the same people that told me John Wick's were good before I had seen them. This, wow, yeah, it's just about a raid on a building and incredible fight sequences for like an hour and 40 minutes. It was so good, and I can't wait. I am going to next be getting Raid 2 in the mail, so from DVD.com, so I'm going to be seeing that soon, hopefully. Yeah. Raid was, I just can't say enough good things about it. Like, this, the problem with many, like, I'll just say, like, American action movies is it just became spectacle as far as oh, big explosion, big space thing, big this, and it's big, 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 big. But like for me, my personal favorite action stuff is things like Jackie Chan or Matrix movies, John Wick movies, but especially woof, the Raid. Cannot say enough good things about it. This hand-to-hand combat fight sequences are unlike anything I've ever seen.
And I like to this. It's a thing in like American action movies where it's like a lot of quick cuts, and I freak out when it's like an action sequence with like really long takes, and I just think that like that's so epic. And I haven't seen the Raid in a few years, but I want to say they did some like really kind of like longer takes with choreography as well, which I found like really interesting to watch. Now I want to rewatch
Yeah.
The Raid. I think I'm gonna be doing that very soon.
Do it. Do it. Lastly, I was able to we were able to watch it while we were there in Colorado. Tremors.
Yes.
And
Tremors. Yes.
first one, so good. I've been rewatching the series. I bought the 6-pack of movies because I had the 4-pack, but I was like, I gotta see the new ones. Yeah, 2 and 3 I've been watching, and woof, it's downhill. The best way I can describe it is like when I tell you the idea for Tremors is a bunch of giant worms coming up from under the ground and eating people in the desert. Probably sounds stupid, but it's actually incredible. Whereas like the rest, just as stupid as it sounds. Like, like they're they're bad. They started using CGI. The budget got cut. Actors stopped. They started having like no name actors in it, besides Michael Gross. And yeah, it's. I'm currently rewatching the 4th one, which is a prequel in the Old West.
Wow. Wow. I've only seen the
And
first one, so I feel like there's a whole life, ahead of me with all the other Tremor movies I could watch.
yeah, I mean it is with like many sequels. It's like I'm happy to like be in the world some more, but yeah, it's just one is the pinnacle of the series and probably always will be, whereas like the other ones are straight to video, uh, straight to video. I'll say B movies, just whatever you want to call them, just kind of trash, cheap movies. First one, watch it. It's on Netflix. It's incredible. If you don't believe me,
It's epic. It's so great. When we watched it together, it was the first time I'd watched it in years, and I enjoyed it so much to rewatch it again. I forgot how great and cool it is. It's just so fun. It's just fun.
yeah, it's fun and it's just a monster movie, well made.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, but enough with what we've been watching, Jess. I guess we should jump into the real topic of the episode. Is love truly blind? Because did
Well,
Nick and Vanessa Lachey say that enough in this fucking show?
I don't think so, because the question like really didn't take hold for me. If she had said it like at least 5 more times, I think I would have understood what we were there for. I love how the hosting was so interesting for them, because they like popped up at the top and then went away, and then kind of popped up again in the middle and then completely went away. Like they were such interesting hosts because they like weren't ever there.
Yeah, it's like why did they need to be there?
And like they
Couldn't
would,
this have just been generic host number 37 from an audition? It didn't need a name, and that's a name, Nick Lachey.
obviously it's Nick Lachey.
Obviously, Nick Lachey.
Oh goodness. So I mean, you have watched it more recently than I have, so I feel like it's a little more fresh in your mind. So let's just talk about because you had watched it like shortly after like everything was up on Netflix and it started to have some buzz. So like, did it meet the expectation that you thought it might?
Well, okay, here were my expectations, though. My expectations were it was a reality TV show. And like everything that gets lumped into that category, expectations get lowered.
Yes.
They just do.
Yep.
Because I'm sorry, but I hate the format of most reality TV shows where the interview portion is like for example, like they're interviewing Cameron, like he's in the same outfit. He clearly they sat and they'd be like, talk about what you thought in this beat. Talk about what you thought in this beat. It's like no, that's you recounting something from weeks, if not months ago. I want their reaction in that moment. So it'd be different if like someone gets in a fight and then they just like, hey, come over here a second. What do you think? It's like that's genuine in the moment thought. Something months later where it's like, I'm in front of a well lit camera with a really nice outfit, makeup, and I think in this moment, this is what I thought.
Yes, it's so,
it's so fake to me.
It gets so produced, and like an example of that is the Kardashians. If you ever watch the Kardashians, which I totally do, they'll have like those confessional styles, and they're wearing the same outfit every episode for every confessional, and it's just like, well,
yeah, that's
so
the thing.
Produced.
They could have easily just like, hey, get that outfit that you had, and we'll try to fool them.
Yeah,
like,
that's the thing. Like reality
like,
shows nowadays don't even try to pretend anymore. Like they're producing those confessionals and kind of like chopping it and editing it and making it seem like, oh, I just talked about it. Like I went to another room and discussed it right then and there, and that's not how it went down.
Yeah, exactly. It just, and not that I think that'd make it better if that they, it's just that's one component why I'm never gonna take that anywhere near as seriously as I will something that's, I prefer stuff that's actually like written and directed and like it's supposed to be fake, whereas like reality TV, it's presentation that like this is real. And I'm sure, oh, I like wrestling, but it's like I we all know wrestling's not real. Like it's an act too, but this is supposed to be them actually in love, them actually dating, them actually getting married and all this stuff, and them actually wanting to propose after like 4 days or whatever the hell. So that's where it's like, yeah, no.
Right. I agree with that. But I will say, like, again, I don't watch a ton of reality TV show, but the ones that I have or do, it's very, like, bottom of the barrel. Like, I know this is trash. Like, I know that this is ridiculous. But there's just something so, like, I don't know, nice, like some sort of escapism from reality TV where you can just kind of like tune in and like forget everything and just like be in this like really cheesy, weird world. What I thought was interesting about this show compared to other reality TV shows is they hit on some like really ugly topics that not a lot of reality TV shows will even attempt to go near. Like they talk about finances. I mean, how many reality shows have you seen where they talk about finances? I can't think of one besides this. I thought that was interesting. They talk about like race. They talk about ageism. They talk about abortion. They talk about like class systems and social systems. And like that's what was interesting to me about the show specifically. And that's why I liked it a lot more than I thought I would, because like they were getting into some things that I would never have expected. I definitely expected it to be more like Bachelor-esque, where it's like everything's great, love is a fairy tale. Like I just because that's what those shows kind of do. Most reality dating shows, it's very like painted in like a rose tint where everything's like beautiful and romantic and fun, and this show like really got into some like weird and ugly things, which I appreciated.
Yeah, no, I totally get, like, I like that they talked about, like you said, finances, and they covered different topics. But I think we need to address the thing that I think a lot of people are feeling. So if for some reason you haven't watched Love is Blind, the concept of the show is that they take these group of people, they're trying to do an experiment, whether love is blind, whether when race and physical attractiveness is not part of the equation, can you find a genuine connection? And then if you do, is that better than meeting someone in person? Because these people aren't allowed to meet one another until a man proposes to a woman, they accept, then they can meet. And then the show goes through like sending them on a trip. They get to know each other more. Then eventually the wedding, and then finally like, will you actually marry them? Here's the thing that's the problem with this like experiment and what we're all thinking about. The concept is, can you love someone without seeing them? But everyone on the show is like 8 to 10s physically, like attractiveness. Like everyone looks like they are a model or an actor or an actress or something. Also, all the men are incredibly, like physically fit and like jacked. Everyone seems to have high paying jobs. Like there's a data scientist, engineer, business owner,
Well, I
like all
will say
these.
that about some of them. Not everyone had like a high paying job. As we came to find out, I think some people lied about what their jobs were. But like, yeah, that's what was interesting was like the idea is that you're going to be put to the test when you see them. Like, will you love this person? And it's like, of course, they're all gorgeous. There's not gonna be an issue when they see each other because they're beautiful humans. Like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Like, so I would love it if the show went more normal, not even like ugly, just normal people or people with like just not conventional beauty, because all of these people had conventional beauty, and you're right, like everyone was fit, everyone was gorgeous and fit and like worked out and like beautiful and like I want to see it where we have slobs, we got ugly slobs, can they be in love with each other? Like that's what I want to see. I don't want to see some like models fall in love with models.
Right? Like the whole point is like, could you, like, say you talk to someone and have a perfect like connection in all these other ways, but then you find out that they're 500 pounds. You find out that they're a little person, or they're a race you didn't know, or an age you weren't sure of, like things like that. Like physical, mostly physical things. And not to say that a lot of these things are necessarily, they're not problems, but just like, what are the whole like swiping on a dating app is, you see a picture and you immediately think yes or no, and like that's what this show is trying to kind of like test. But like we said, once they open the doors, everyone's fucking gorgeous, so like that was all, there was no point to that. The real test would be if you have someone who, say, looks like a model, talk to someone who maybe is 500 pounds, and they have a genuine connection. One of them proposes, they say yes, and then they reveal the curtains. It's like, would you still date him?
Yeah, exactly. Because when the reveals happened, there wasn't, like, I guess this is a spoiler, but so you can skip ahead if you don't want to hear it. But there was not one couple.
Well, we could just say spoilers allowed. This is for all of season 1, pretty much.
Okay, so, like, when all the couples were eventually revealed to each other, we didn't see one couple in the moment of the reveal be like, oof, I don't know about this. Like, everyone was like, wow, you're beautiful. So it would just kind of like, I don't know, it would have packed more of a punch if it was like a couple or two was like, I don't like, your looks are weird. Like, I don't know. It was just super weird that like everyone liked each other's looks. So the whole idea of like love being blind didn't really take, because you could, when you see them, they're all beautiful, and of course you like what you see.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like that should have, those moments should have been bigger. It was more so like later on, like planning for the weddings, and then like before the weddings when like shit happened for a lot of couples. But like those moments for pretty much all of them were like, oh my god, you're so beautiful, you're so handsome, and it's just like, why am I, as someone who's not a 9 out of 10, like, why the fuck do I care? Like, yeah, you two, sure, of course that would happen.
Right.
Like that's not what I want to see. not that they're like a traditionally like ugly person, but I want to see like Josh Gad get like Angelina Jolie. Like I want to see,
Yes.
I want to see a Rosie O'Donnell end up with Scarlett Johansson. Like I want to see people that are like, oh, didn't think they would go out. Just because that challenges the real actual physical attraction portion, and when people are like, I didn't think they'd go together, that's what it should really challenge.
Yes. And I will say too, like, not to be hypercritical of the show, because I did enjoy it. I did find it fun to watch, and I know a lot of people did. But I don't know, like, I feel like there could be a change with how heteronormative it is, because it's very, like, centered towards heterosexual couples, where it's the men in one pod, the women in the other, they date to see which men and women they like. Maybe they could, like, have seasons where it's, a little more open to that fluidity, but, like, it was just very heteronormative, and the fact that they can't leave the pods until a man proposes to the woman, it's like, well, yeah, I think we could get a little more creative in upcoming seasons with, like, that specifically. But I do think that this was, like, a really successful first season. So I would like to think, because so many people watched it, that in the future they'll toy with that a little bit more. Keep, like, the gist, like, the concept, but, like, maybe toy with, like, other sexual identities or other physical appearances, and not just have it be, like, beautiful straight people for seasons and seasons.
Yes, exactly. I hope they listen. Just listen to us, like, and maybe do one season how we're thinking, and if it's not as whatever, like, do another season like this. People are still gonna watch. You got a huge viewership. Just try something else.
Exactly. We're gonna watch. We watch this much. We're gonna watch. We watched this all in like 2 days. Basically, we'll all watch again.
Yeah. So let's talk. We talked about like the general thing we think should change with the show, but now let's talk about let's dish on the couples.
Yes.
So. I think we should just go couple by couple. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, so I'll save one I know we're going to talk probably the most about for later. But let's talk about the one that lots of people love, like kind of like I think this was the first couple that had a engagement, Lauren and Cameron.
Yes, so Lauren and Cameron to me is really interesting, because in this weird culture of reality TV, they seem very genuine, which I think is why people loved them so much, because it felt real, and we don't really have a lot of real feelings in reality TV. So that was quite interesting. I was rooting for them. I thought they seemed very sweet and compatible, but it was interesting to see how viewers reacted to them, because people were obsessed with them. And maybe we were right. Maybe they are very genuine and real, and what we saw really did go down how it went down, because they're still together, which is quite interesting because the show also shot in 2018. So they've been together, married for like 2 years. I think. I don't know when in 2018, but like they've been married for almost over a year. Or they've been married for at least over a year, so they're still together. Yeah. They also just started a YouTube channel where they are just like, hi guys, we're married, here's our lives. Like, it's really cute. I watched like an episode or two of theirs, and like they just seem like how they seemed on the show, which is really interesting.
Yeah, so I think that was one thing, like you said, so this is one of the couples that are still together, and like you said, this is I don't want to say the nice couple, but like the couple that it felt like, oh, I could see they seem to be having like a real connection here. I'm just a little kind of like, we'll just say like what, tin hat, or not tin hat,
tinfoil hat.
Tin hat.
Tin hat.
Fix that. Fix that and everything. Anytime we sound stupid, fix it. So yeah, tinfoil hat, but I think there's something a little off with Cameron. Not like, I don't know, not that I think he's like a serial killer or something, but like he just seems so calm and collected, and I feel like he really thinks each and every word he's about to say so he can pronounce it perfectly and just seem so perfect. It just like, I don't know, it maybe it's like his interviews, maybe he's just a little awkward around cameras, but it just felt like there was a couple scenes, like there's one of the scenes you'd have to go back and watch, but like one of the first nights in the hotel, they're kind of like sitting next to each other, and he's kind of like, I don't know, looks like he's just sitting very awkwardly, like he just like almost like an alien in a human's body, just like, is this how they sit? Like I'm telling you, is like how can I describe it? It's almost like his like shoulders were like out and like his arms, like his legs are spread, and he just kind of was in this weird position that's kind of like, this is chill. I'm chill right now. This is how people sit.
That's funny. I didn't clock that. But yeah, you're right. He does seem very like I don't know, like I didn't get a huge read on his personality. Lauren seems like a little more like loose and fun, and she's like talkative and making jokes, and he's just very like, yeah, I love her, like that's it. And maybe it's just how he was in front of cameras, like he wanted to be very put together, which is good because some of those people acted wild in front of cameras. But yeah, you're right.
Maybe that's the thing.
Maybe, yeah.
He was so afraid of not looking stupid. He's like, I'm gonna be careful of everything I do.
Maybe when the cameras aren't rolling, he is like the loosey-goosey fun guy at the party. But like maybe it was, and maybe too because there were so many crazy people on the show, like he looked really boring because he wasn't like wasted and being like, you know. I don't know. You're right. There was something like, I don't know, like she probably brings out a little bit more of a fun side to him, maybe? I don't know. But you're right, there is something very put together about him.
Yeah, and also just, you know, obviously this is the storyline that they cover, you know, she's black, he's white, and she's like, I have a dad who's very wants me to date a black man, and like, you know, da 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 da, and so like that was like they had to cover multiple times, and it's just funny how produced it is. They're just like, so this is a possible conflict, we're gonna keep reminding you of the conflict because we want conflict to happen on camera. Yeah. And then like the dad was just like, I'll give you a chance. And I'm just like, what? Why was that built up for so many episodes that like his dad was gonna freak out, and he's just like, well, I'll treat you well. It's like, oh, was the dad just normal? Because, like, who's going to just go on camera and just be like, this white man can't date my daughter? Like, this is not a Tyler Perry movie.
Right.
Like,
I feel like this is where, like, my conspiracy theory brain comes in, is, like, they probably cooked up the drama because there probably was a little bit there. Like, Lauren had said she's never introduced a boyfriend to her dad before. Her dad is very strict. Her dad has said before he doesn't want her dating out of her race. So that probably was like real thing. And
sure.
When the producers got a hold of it, they were like, oh, drama.
Oh, conflict.
Yeah. Like this, because this was the one that would be like, is love blind? Because race is a factor in it. And this was really the only one that had that. So it was like, oh, maybe this is where the loving blind situation will get crazy. And it really didn't. I thought like, aside from like the producers and how they handled it, I thought like Lauren and Cameron and her dad like all handled it very well. Like I feel like it was communicated very gracefully, especially for the fact that like not only is it like, you know, he doesn't trust white people, but also like his daughter just met this guy and she's like marrying him. So it's pretty like rational for any father to be like, you sure about this?
Right? So yeah, I think of anyone on the show, this was the couple that out of all the couples, this is one of the top two. I figured like, oh, I think they'll make it.
Yes.
There was just one time where the way that they were editing things, you could totally tell like he loved her hard, whereas like I think she loved him, but I think she was a little just scared of commitment. Because obviously the gimmick of the show is not just, oh, go date. It's, oh, get married right now.
Yeah, that's what escalates it a lot.
Yes, and get married in a month. Like, it's just, like, we got to do this. We got to do it quick. Is there's times where she's just like, I don't know. Maybe, do I love him? But like, do I want to be with him forever? Like, it very much felt like I was like, oh no, he's gonna scare her off. Like, there's just usually they often say in relationships, it feels like there's one person that likes the other more than the other, and so that's where I thought, like, ooh, he's gonna run her off.
I do like how she was like cracking a lot of jokes, but she was like, "I'm in love, but like this is weird. This whole thing's really weird."
Right? She felt like the only one that's like, yeah, this is a lot, right? Does no one else think that this is a lot?
Like, she's like, "Yeah, I really like him, but it's been 2 weeks." Like,
and he's like, do you want to move in with me? I own a 3-bedroom house. It's like, wow, man.
But hey, apparently it worked because they're still together.
Yep, still together. But let's move on to another couple. Jess, who's the next couple you want to talk about?
Let's talk about Barnett and Amber.
Ugh.
I fully forgot her name, even though I just said it. I was like about to call her Kelly, which is the other chick. Let's just talk about them because they are messy. Let's get them out of the way.
God. Okay. So this is another couple that they're still together.
Shockingly.
I can't stand Barnett.
Really? Okay, so I have no strong feelings towards either one of them. As I was watching the show, I kind of was like, they're so weird. They are so strange. They were not a couple I was rooting for. I just found them to be so bizarre, but so weird that I was like, this is probably gonna work. They're just two weirdos that I think will work out for each other.
Oh, that's the thing. I was like, yeah, she's clearly... They both have, like, their issues and they're weird. And it was not that I hated them as a couple, but I more so just couldn't stand Barnett as a person. Like, I felt like the best way I could describe it, I have lots of friends who are women, and I have a lot of them who would get hurt by guys, and I would be like the friend that they cried on the shoulder or they would vent to. And I'm like, Barnett feels like the dude that hurts a lot of nice people, and then they come running to someone like me, and then I console them.
Yes.
And like,
yes, he is
like, he just seems like the typical fuckboy.
Yes, he is the fuckboy that if my friend starts obsessing over, I'm like, no, he's not that great. Like, because he really wasn't.
Well, he wasn't
that great.
That was the thing. Everyone's like, he's so funny, and he does like these pervy little jokes, and I'm like, it's funny because he's behind a wall and you're safe. Like, he did that in public, you'd call him a creep.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest here. That's where, like, I'm like, no, he's not that funny. And then he was just saying things like to Jessica, is like, if I propose tomorrow and da-da-da-da-da, and like, I think he led on 3 women, and like, sure, he picked Amber, and it seems like that was the right choice for them. But, like, I felt so bad for Elsie, even though, like, she barely, like, was shown on camera that much. She was, like, the girl that got turned down at the end. Felt bad for her because she seemed nice. And she kind of had a real moment in her interview. She's like, this always happens where, like, everything seems great and is something wrong with me? And I'm like, oh, girl, no.
Yeah, that was
nothing's wrong with you. He's just an asshole.
Yes.
You picked the wrong one. You probably should have been with someone like Mark.
That was, like, low-key devastating when she was just like, I
that was real.
Is there something wrong with me? I was like, oh, like, and that's gotta suck too, to be like turned down in this series where it's all about like your personality and who you are as a person. Like, that's gotta really hurt if you're turned down in the pods. Ew.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I was biased because I personally just couldn't stand Barnett, and like, I don't know how those women didn't see it when the fact that he's like. Yeah, he was like the only one that was talking to 3 women until he had to choose one to propose to. Like, sure, they all dated each other at some point. They all went on like 1 to 2 dates. But like, there was a lot of girls. I think Diamond's even like, I don't know why everyone's tripping over this fucking Barnett. I thought he was an asshole. Right. Like, he made a joke that I was a stripper, and I was done.
Yeah, she came in with, like, the real tea, where she's like, I don't get it. Which I didn't either. Like, watching it, I didn't get why, like, 3 girls were so into him. no, like that. I don't know. Like, I just didn't get it. It's just, he was so interesting because he seemed so, like, incredibly boring and, like, also kind of weird and, like, gross. So I didn't get it. But I do find interesting about him and Amber is that they were, like, the couple that really struggled the most with, like, financial differences and class differences and, like, he had a high paying job. She really wasn't working. She had a ton of debt that she was like kind of hidden until they were like locked down engaged and like
Well, yeah, because she's apparently our age, and she's just like, I got a lot of student debt that haven't paid a single dime on. She's just like, I only have one credit card. It's $700 I use towards makeup. It's like, wait, you have one credit card that's less than $1,000, and it's just for makeup? Like, and she's like, I've been homeless, I've been this, and I've been this, and he's just like, oh fuck, did I pick wrong?
I do love though that like when they were bringing each other to each other's houses, like he brought her into his house and he was kind of like I'm kind of nervous about what she'll think, and she ended up being like, oh my god, this house is so nice. And then when she took him to meet her family, it was like in this like ghetto area, it was like a trash house, and Barnett was just like, yeah, I can't believe I was even worried about how she would think of my house. It's a shithole. Like,
yeah, he was a little judgy
yeah,
about it.
Like,
He's just
whoa.
like, oh, no wonder she's this way. She came from trash. You know, it's like, ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh.
Yeah, they are. I'm surprised. Like I said, like I don't know. Like they're just two weirdos that it makes sense why it works, but it's also like. Okay, like you're weird. You guys they're just so weird. Like I don't know. Like I feel like there was so much like rooting for this couple and this couple and this couple. There was no one really rooting for like Amber and Barnett. You know, they were just kind of like there.
Yeah, but what's funny is like, so that's all like I hated him during the whole dating process, and then like finally they end up together, and like someone I'm still want to save for later. There's much more drama with to where like they seemed normal compared to this other person.
Yes.
We're gonna save her for the main event. But like next, I want to talk about. I feel like we just have to do a quick mention of Diamond and Carlton.
Yes, so they were a couple that got engaged in the pods but did not get married. They did not go through a wedding. They broke up what seemed to be like relatively quickly after leaving the pods, and it was basically because he identifies as like pansexual, and he had relationships with men. It was something he didn't disclose in the pod. And then when he finally tells her when they're together, she's a little like taken aback from it. I wouldn't say she reacts like negatively. She's just kind of like, whoa, like that's a really big chunk of yourself you've like left out. Like, which is
that's a lot. And that's a lot to process.
And he did not like that response and really like bad communication skills. So they got into a huge fight. He threw like the engagement ring in the pool and like called her a bitch, and then she was like no, and then she quotes Beyonce and then walks away, and that was a moment. I don't know.
What was the Beyonce quote?
It was you ain't married to no average bitch boy. Yeah. Oh, who the fuck do you think I am? Something. You ain't married to no average bitch boy. And it was like, yes, queen. Yeah, that was.
I heard her say something just like, watch this ass go to the next dick to ride or something like that, and I was like, whoa. Like, holy shit. This is the reality TV that they're hoping for. This is where like they're prodding.
Yes.
And, like, clearly, like, the thing with this one was, like, yeah, like you said, he held this, and she never reacted in a way that was anti, queer in any way. Her reaction was more so like, hey, the whole point of the pods is, like, we tell each other tons of shit, and then we get out, and then we just are together. And you held this big thing, like, I'm still processing, and he just clearly has a lot of stuff he needs to work on as far as telling people. and he freaked out and hated that he has to come out to begin with, and yeah, poor communication skills, and that's like, well, they're done. So yeah, they didn't even make it to start planning a wedding. They were just on kind of like the whole Miami, or was it like resort vacation stuff that they were doing, and just yeah, it was very quick.
Yes, it was like very immediately just like, oh, this ain't gonna work out, bye. Which, like, that, I don't know, like, that was a really interesting thing to watch play out, because it kind of felt a little like, it was pretty heavy and it was pretty dark, but it also was just like, at the end of it, it's just like really, really bad communication can really instantly kill a relationship. And that's what I think really happened.
Yeah. So yeah, that's one of the other relationships. One of the other ones that I wanted to go over. Well, We're gonna step through all of them. Giannina and Damien.
Wow, they were wild.
This one was definitely the most over. No, I don't want to say over the top. Was the craziest little wedding scenario. So they did not get married, but twist, they're still dating. They like got back together.
Yeah, so that's fascinating because the whole time on the show, they were pretty volatile. Like, they were fighting. She was saying some, like, brutal things to him. Like, just really ripping into him sometimes. And I thought it was really interesting for her, too, because she opened up about how she self-sabotages, and when things are too good she gets scared, so she like ruins it for herself. And I feel like that's something, like, especially those of us with anxiety can like relate to. So I kind of like, I don't know, like, I felt kind of bad for her, like, even though she was kind of being an asshole. I was like, I kind of get what she's doing in this weird defense mechanism, but sometimes it would get so toxic and so bad, it was just like, yikes, like, ugh. So then a lot of fights, a lot of putting him down.
Yeah. So yeah, that definitely, he, like you said, volatile relationship where she was self-sabotaging, and he like heard that, and he just like was like, well, you're doing the thing you're saying you're doing, like, you're self-sabotaging. And he seems like very like, if anyone was a serial killer on the show, I think it's
100%.
like,
Yeah.
it's maybe terrible to say, but if someone had to be one, it feels like he would be him, because he's just so straight-laced. He's jacked, and he's very this, and like, I don't know, it's funny because like their engagement got like so like not emotional for me, but for them, like, where he's just like, I'll give you this bow because I give you my everything, and she's like, I'm gonna propose to you because we're equals, and I'm like, okay, guys. like a week ago you were probably swiping on Tinder. Let's calm down now. So they were having tons of fights throughout. Awkwardly had a fight in front of all the other couples.
Yikes, yeah.
Because she's like, you're being awkward and this. And I'm like, well, it's pretty awkward that you're fighting in front of everyone now. I think that's just as awkward as whatever he was doing. And yeah, he didn't quite react to her the best way. She didn't react the best way. So it was like both their fault. And yeah, so finally it comes to it, and it's like, will you marry me? Or what do you say? And she says, I do. And he's like, I do not. And of course, she is emotional, and she fucking runs away. And one of the funniest camera things ever is like the camera people like jostling, chasing after her. And then like she's like going down this little hill, and she like slips in her dress and like gets mud on it. And it's just like, oh no. Oh, this is the...
It was very cringy all around, very dramatic. Yeah. And she's like, I mean, though, like, I don't blame her. I think I would have ran away too in that scenario. I think it would have been like, get me the hell out of here. Especially with the idea of like, oh, the cameras are recording all of this, and all of my friends and family are here, and the person that I thought I was gonna marry doesn't want to have anything to do with me. Like, but I'd book it too, probably. But like, the falling was so awkward. That poor girl.
Well, yeah, so two things that were interesting with this one. One, this is just more one of her comments where it was just like really harsh, where she was just like, you know how you said sex with me was your best ever? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, you know how I didn't say the same thing back? It's just like, okay,
That was
wow.
harsh.
Like,
That was like
she
very
just
harsh.
immediately was going for like, hey, what's a low blow? I'll do this because she knows it'll upset a man.
Yeah, that was
But
like pretty brutal. And then yeah, there was just like a lot of weird fights like that, a lot of jabs. And then he, you know, didn't want to go through with the wedding. She books
yeah, I
it.
was like, good for him. But then they're still together, and I'm like,
Yeah,
maybe not good
that's
for him.
what's so surprising is like they're still together. So somewhere along the way, because like after she runs away, she does come back and they have this very, very dramatic conversation about how like,
Yeah.
ugh. And you think that would be it. Like it looks like definitely a breakup moment, like for sure. But so I guess love is blind, so they come back
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to bring up was there was a part where she was supposed to meet his parents and his parents didn't show, and they were talking about it, and he even said like apparently his mom like Giannina already knew this, but Damien, apparently his mom said like, don't go marry some reality TV slut or like something like
Oh.
that. Like it was like a very offhanded little thing, and I was like, god damn, see, like that feels like genuine drama. Like I could totally see if someone was in this situation and then them being like their family being like, no, we're not going to come to this bogus wedding.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they did come at all. And also, I think he even brought up, I think this is the character that said like, I'm taking off like time for work, and like I'm worried that like something can happen.
Right.
It's like, right? Isn't that a problem where all these people are just gone from work?
Yeah, you're right. Those two things would have been like really interesting to focus on because like yeah, like losing your job, I mean, especially like nowadays, hello, like it's very dramatic and like yeah, that's always something like I'm interested in like when people do like these weird reality TV shows like yeah, what do you tell your job? Like what is that about? Like what's happening? But you're right.
I'm just gonna be on this show where this experiment I may fall in love with someone.
But like what's interesting too, like you said, his family like wouldn't meet her. And I feel like if I was on this show, I don't know if my family would be fully engaged in this and want to meet whoever I, fell in love with. So I would want to see that. Like I want to see how, because there were so many families that were reacting very positively, and it's like I want to see what it looks like when a family's like, this is super strange, dude. We like aren't into this. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think even like one of like Barnett's brothers did that too, where he's just like, "Have you thought about
Yeah,
this?"
yeah. I do like how Barnett's family obviously did not care for her. Like just a sidebar, but yeah, like I would be interested to see like more of that. And like yeah, I felt like they really glossed over Damien's family. They just kind of were like, yeah, we're supposed to meet him and we didn't. That's weird, huh? But there wasn't really a deep explanation.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very interesting. I am following them on social media. I'm curious if they're gonna break up, or if they're kind of milking this for like if they're making money off this in some way still. So that brings us to looks like we have two couples left. Don't worry, I'm saving your favorite for last. We got to talk about Kelly and Kenny.
Yes, they were very surprising to me.
So that was the other couple. Like I thought Cameron and Lauren are gonna work, and Kelly and Kenny, because Kelly and Kenny seemed like perfect. Like they were both like communication skills were great. It seemed like she kept saying like, "Oh my god, I love kissing him," and like she's like, "It's like my favorite thing," and like I was like, "Okay, things seem great," and then out of nowhere, out of like all the people. He's just like, yeah, we haven't had sex yet. And it was just like, wait, you haven't? She said you were so fun to make out with, and like everyone else has done it eventually. Kelly and Kenny haven't? Why? And so surprisingly, Kelly says no at the altar. And then Kenny being the fucking perfect dude he is, just like speaks in front of everyone. He's like, "Hey everyone, I just want to say I appreciate you coming out. It didn't work, but we love you all and thank you for your support." And like the best moment of the entire show was it cuts to Kelly's mom and she goes, "God, I love him."
It was the best. It's the best moment of the whole show. It is.
It was the best moment of the whole show because it was like, oh my God, because they had a real, like, so they had their parents meet and they all talked about how, like, they weren't together for, like, I think a few months before they got married. I think both their parents were like that.
Yes, and both of their parents supported it, which was like, wow, and like they meshed together very well too. Like the family all got along. Like, wow, that's really nice.
Yeah, everything seemed perfect, and then Kelly's just like, I don't know, I just couldn't. Like, what was her excuse even?
I don't think she really had like a good reason. I think she just kind of was like,
Oh, she said something about like, oh, like I love him, and like we're like best friends, but like I'm not like infatuated with him, and I'm just like, that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
You guys have been together like a month. Maybe you don't have it because it's new.
And also, like, right before their wedding, in a confessional, she made mention of, like, an ex-boyfriend. And she said something like, I don't feel the same way about Kenny that I felt about him. And this was, like, the first time we heard anything about an ex-boyfriend. So I thought that was, like, really weird. Like, what was going on there? But yeah, that was, like, super surprising. I think the reason why her mom saying that is the best is because everyone was super surprised by that, and we were all feeling the same way as the mom, where we just all were like, oh God, he's so great. Like,
right? Because he okay, here's the thing. I was joking earlier about how Cameron seems too calm and collected, but like Kenny seems natural. Like Cameron was just like, I'm talking like this, and Kenny's like, hey, I'm talking like this because it's just I'm here, I'm Kenny. And I just like you said, thank you all for coming out. Like he was just so like southern, like not, I don't want to say southern gentleman, but like he just someone joked it's like he should run for president because like he'd probably win. Like he's just be like, hey, well, this is what I think about this. Like he could probably say something horrible, but like in a nice way. You'd be like, well, we all have our opinions.
Right. It was interesting
he's one of those.
because I found the two of them as a couple to be so incredibly boring. Like I did not care about them because like they seemed like this cute little couple, like whatever. I just like had no investment in them. I thought they were kind of boring. And then they had like the most fascinating ending because they just seemed like, oh yeah, they're going to for sure get married. And they didn't, and that's like kind of when I started to pay attention to them was at the end, and it was like, oh, that's super weird.
Yeah, I don't know, it definitely, like you said, I wouldn't say they were the most boring. I think it was just that because all the other people had all these other problems, that they seemed like, all right, yeah, they're gonna be fine.
Yeah,
like what's their drama? Like whereas like Cameron and Kelly had the whole like race thing that they were dealing with her dad, whereas like Kelly and Kenny, it was just like, what's your problem?
Right.
What, you haven't had sex yet? Like, is that it?
Right. There was like no tension. They had like very little issues. Everything was fine. And then at the very end, somehow it didn't work out, and that was like really baffling. I still don't fully get it. Like I don't really fully get why she chose not to. But it works out. In the reunion, he says he's in a new relationship and he's very happy. She's like, I'm still single. It's fine. So yikes for that. But yeah, I don't know. That was a very surprise ending for those two for sure.
I'll admit, I am reading an article right now because I'm curious. And this is, and this is obviously like, it looks like a People interview, I think, with some Kelly and some Kenny. Apparently they had a plan that they admitted that they're like, we're not going to get married, but we're going to continue the engagement and get to know one another. And then one of them ended things. And so, like, apparently they planned how it went on the show. But he also, didn't he say I do?
Yeah.
So it's like,
see, that's what's interesting.
I'm confused.
Is if, like, they said that, but like I don't know, like they also should have like opted to not go through with the wedding then, or like opted to have both been at the altar and both say I don't, but let's keep going, instead of like, if that's the case, like making one look bad, because then one looks really bad and then the other looks like a hero, which is like what's happened. So if that was the case, I feel like it would have just like been a little easy on her, especially just to be like, nah, but like let's keep going.
Yeah, this is really interesting. We're gonna have to do some more digging after this.
Yes, we'll do some research.
Just because, like, let's get some research on this shitty reality show. Yeah, but that was shocking. Because I remember, like, at the time you had seen it, and I was like, wait, how many of these end up together? And you're like, 3, and like I think there was already like some no's. And at that point, when they said no, I was like, wait, the math is not adding up for people to be together.
Yeah.
Did you lie? It's because apparently Giannina and Damien got back together. And I was like, oh. But anyway, yeah, Kelly and Kenny. I wonder, if Kenny just seems so perfect, but actually has tons of other problems. But yeah, I feel like Kelly definitely still wanted to be with him. So that's interesting. But let's talk about the main drama couple.
The crazy, crazy time of Love is Blind.
Yes, Mark and Jessica.
So,
Jess, would you like to open up about this?
Sure. So I just want to start off by saying 2 things. 1, poor Mark. He doesn't deserve any of this. 2, Jessica gives my people a bad name. I do not like her. I did not like her from the beginning. I thought she was horrendous. And in the first episode that I watched with her, I thought, wow, you do not deserve to have my name. So the way that I described Jessica after episode 2 or 3 was, she's so odd to me. She's like an anomaly. She sounds and talks like she's 21. She dresses like she's 12. She acts like she's 17. She looks like she's 45, but she's only 34. Like, who is this wild woman? So, Jessica is a mess, a messy person, and I would like to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she was just like really working through things when the show was filming and looks a lot more terrible than she is in real life. I don't know. A lot of her issues were deep insecurity. She settled on Mark. Mostly seemed like she settled on him because she didn't want to be alone, and that was it. Like,
yes.
Just anyone.
So, okay. So that was the big thing, was she was really into Mark and Barnett, and she totally thought Barnett was gonna, like, propose, and it seemed like she's like, I'm all ready. And then Barnett was like, no, I'm not sure. And she's like, okay, no, I'm not dealing with this. And like, she just immediately is like, fuck this. Which I was like, at first I was like, well, good for her, because like he was kind of, I think, leading multiple people on. But then that's where I thought, I was like, yeah, fuck Barnett, good for you, Jess. And then it was like, then that's where things like turn, because then she goes running to Mark like, I've wanted to be with you since the beginning.
Baby.
And, like, that was just,
baby.
yeah. Oh yeah, she kept saying baby, baby,
Baby.
and he's like, I'm no second fiddle. I know my worth, but yet he still goes through with it and proposes. And then, like, okay, during the pods, and she had to bring up a billion times, was that she was 34 and he was 24. She's just like, it's weird, right? Like, does no one else think it's weird? And what's funny is, like, anytime she talked to, like, family or friends or, like, his friends, everyone's just like, that is what it is.
Yeah.
Like,
no one
cared. And
weird.
she's just like, oh, okay, really? Like, you can even see her, like, reacting not well. Like, she's just like, uh-huh. So you think that's fine? You know, like
she very clearly.
It's like she wanted validation
Yes.
that it's weird. It's just like you may not get
She
it.
just wanted to break up with him, but she was so desperate to not be alone that she needed a reason. And so it was like, oh, the age difference, that'll work. But no one thought it was weird. Everyone was like, yeah, no, it's fine. Like, when she was about to meet his mom, she kept being like, your mom is not going to approve. Your mom is not going to like this. How do you think your mom is going to feel? And he was like...
Well, he also talked up his
yeah,
mom.
that was super weird, like, for sure. Like, but that aside, like...
She seemed fine.
Yeah,
No, I'm just
like,
kidding.
He was like, no, my mom's not going to care. It's going to be fine. She's like, no, your mom's going to hate it. And sure enough, like... when they met, the age thing wasn't brought up until Jessica brought it up, and it was like, but no, really. And the mom was like, yeah, no, it's fine. I actually I like that he's dating someone more mature. Like, it just was like, everyone was like, it's fine. It's not that big a deal. And, like, see, I thought, I don't know, like, I get the idea of, like, an age difference, especially for, like, a woman dating a younger man, because they could look like a cougar, or like, what's wrong with her? But like, I would have rather her just have been like, hey, there's more pressure on me in this like age difference, and I want you to be aware that it makes me feel weird, instead of being like, I don't know, this is weird, isn't it weird? It's weird. And it's like, no.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like she had a problem with it from the get-go. And what's funny is, like, even though Mark was 24, like, he seemed like he could have been like just the other 27 to 30 year olds. Like, he like didn't seem like immature for his age. And she's just like, well, you're just like ready to have kids and get married. He's just like, yeah. And she's like, oh, that's crazy. Like, she's just like, oh, that's crazy.
She's like, no, you're not.
Like, at 24, I wouldn't have been. It's like, yeah, I don't know. But then she would go and openly fucking flirt with Barnett.
Yeah.
And that's where I was so annoyed, because, like, there was a part where, like, Barnett's like, hey, yeah, our apartment's, like, right above here. And she's like, oh, my God, I walked by the window naked. And it was just like, what? Also, he said, like, doesn't mean he can see through your window, but, like, it just total, like, and she even said, she's like, yeah, I had too much to drink. And, like, that's an understatement in the reunion show, because when you pointed that out to me, when I watched through the series, every time she was in a pod, and, like, every time they were at an event, they were eating, whatever, she was drinking wine.
She was drinking wine, the whole time, beginning to end, every scenario, every situation, the whole time. She feeds her dog wine. Like, she loves wine. And, like, I get it, but also, like, yikes, it was beginning to end, and I think that was, like, extremely problematic in her behavior, because, like, she was just a nightmare, and you know what? It could have just been because she was drunk 24/7.
Yeah, and I love, there's even a part where, like, she's drunk and Amber's pretty drunk too at, like, their little bachelorette party thing, and Amber's just like, I'll fucking break your face if you come down on my
and
man.
She's like, girl, why would I do that?
And she's like, boo boo, no.
No, I love you.
Boo boo, I love both of you. I have a fiance. It's like, do you?
Oh, yikes. Yeah, that was, oof. And just poor Mark was, like, really trying to make it work. And she kept kind of just, like, bringing up Barnett. Like, at one point, I think she basically tells Mark that she finds Barnett more attractive or something. Like, she said something
like, she's
really
just like,
harsh.
She says about how he's hot, and he just walks out of the room. And then, like, then there's a part where they have... Okay, so both they did this, and then also Giannina and Damien did this, where they went into other rooms and then communicated as if they were in the pods again. I was like, that's not a healthy thing. No. That you have to be in another room to communicate. Like, I could understand, like, hey, I need to remove myself from the situation, but, like, for you to only get through problematic things being in another room seems like there's problems already.
Yeah, and they, like, both couples romanticized it, being like, oh, this is nice, it's like we're in the pods again. Like, yikes.
Yeah. Yikes, you're in the pods again. Yeah. So, obviously she said no.
Yeah, I do like that, like how
that was the least shocking
no,
one. That didn't
no
work.
surprises. I like how she just fully kind of walked in, kind of being like, yeah, whatever, I'm here. Like, she didn't have any of her family there. She had a couple friends, but she was just kind of like, yeah, I'm just showing up. And just kind of walked up and was like, yeah, no, bye. And just, that was it. Like, okay, I think everyone kind of saw that coming except Mark. That poor guy. Like, I wonder what Mark thinks looking back and watching the footage, like what he really thinks about himself and the relationship. Like, that poor guy.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that in the reunion there was a time where where they watch some of the clips where like she's kind of like, oh my god, Bernard, and Amber's just like, you're a sneaky bitch, and I hate you. like, and like Mark seemed pretty like, yeah, it just didn't work out, but like Amber's like, no, fuck you, you're fake. Oh god. Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily feel bad for Mark, because I feel like that should have been the indication from the beginning when she's like, I don't know, I'm feeling someone else, and then like the moment they break up, she's like, oh baby, I wanted to be with you. Baby. It's like, no, you just wanted to get proposed to.
See, like, I feel like the show tried to be sort of a prestige-y, like, reality show. Like, they didn't call it a competition or a show. They called it The Experiment. Like, they tried to be very, like, highbrow reality TV. But then it was, like, Jessica who leveled it down and was like, no, we know what this is. This is reality TV.
Did you say you need some drama?
Right. I'm here with the alcohol. Like, yikes.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to note that I was reading about, I think you mentioned this when we talked about it, but I wanted to mention it in the podcast. So there were some unaired engagements.
Yes, there were like 3 unaired engagements.
Why wouldn't they just film that and use that for a second season, or like some bonus? Why? We don't have enough. Like, it's because like they didn't want to pay for the weddings. Right?
I don't know.
Is that what it was?
I don't know. A producer in an interview was saying that like they had only planned for like 2 engagements, like 1 or 2. Like they didn't think they would get that many, and then they ended up getting like 8 or 9. So they didn't have like enough money in the budget to cover all of them, which is like super interesting. Yeah. I don't know like how they decided like, okay, you're gone now, we don't care, bye.
So yeah, there were 2 couples that weren't shown. So I'm reading what it says here. So yeah, as we were preparing to go to the Mexico trip, the leads of the show came in and said, hey, we're expecting maybe 1 or 2 engagement. The shows we've done before, we've never had this much success. We prepared for 5. Then we got 8. So we had to pick who we're going to follow. And they pretty much like thanked them and said like, sorry, we don't have enough to cover everyone. After getting engaged in the pods, one couple continued to date for 3 months, but they broke up. Apparently the other couple took a week-long trip to Miami together after getting engaged, but they broke up after returning from the trip. One of them apparently decided to pursue a relationship with another person from the cast. But they split as well.
Okay. Wow, drama.
Right? But it's like, just, they could have released that for like bonus stuff later.
Yeah, right? Because this is fascinating.
Just, you don't send them on this like expensive vacation.
Right.
Ever think of that? Like the pods, it was so smart. Like they're just in a room. Like you could just make it just a couch. You don't have to make it like these fancy drapes and that garbage. Like just make it simple, and just don't send them on a trip. Send them to Wisconsin Dells. That's what I send them go-karting. Send them to send them to like an amusement park where they have to navigate shit. Send them on like real life family things.
Yeah, not some
send them to like a work party.
Yes. Yeah, not like a beautiful like all expenses paid resort in Mexico. That's too fake. Like we need some like real like nitty-gritty reality life right now.
Right. Oh boy. All right, Jess. Well, I guess the true question is love blind?
Well, obviously, I'm Jessica Kwazz, and I would say sometimes, yeah, I guess, sometimes. Yeah. Yeah.
Which I feel like we never quite referenced it fully, but the whole obviously bit is because Nick Lachey in the first episode. So, and obviously I'm Nick Lachey.
And we're like, obvious to who? This is in 2000.
Right?
Like, come on.
Obviously to audiences from 1998. I am I was a member of the third best boy band. Let's be honest, they were
Oh,
not.
yeah, no, it was like NSYNC Backstreet Boys first. You would fight over who like the best one was, and then whoever lost was
Yep.
second, and then 98 Degrees was for sure third. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, easily. Yeah. Sorry, Nick, but got a new gig though. Hey.
Awesome. Yeah. So, yeah, Jess, where can everyone find you on the social medias?
On Instagram and Twitter, I am at JESSKWAZZ at Jess Kwazz.
And on Twitter, I am at the Pros. On Instagram, I am Brandon Prosek. You can follow Entertainment Buffet on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Please follow us there. We're going to be releasing more episodes during everything that's happening. We're going to be returning to our top 10s of the 10s. We are going to be doing top 10 performances by actors of the 10s and actresses of the 10s. So those are going to be coming out. We'll be wrapping up that mini-series we've been doing. Well, what are you guys watching while you're possibly isolated right now? What do you think we should watch? Do you have topics you want us to talk about? Should we do favorite woof movies? Or like, what do you think? How would you redo Love Is Blind for season 2? Let's hear it. But yeah, we really appreciate you listening. Please, as all podcasts, like, subscribe, share, let people know. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you can find. Yeah. So I guess, Jess, you're right. I guess love is blind.
Sometimes.
Because
Sometimes.